Welcome to Evangelical-ish, where we discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly of the American evangelical church, deconstruction, faith, and God's love through it all. Join us for these episodes live on our Evangelical-ish YouTube page on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central, and 6 o'clock Pacific. Let's journey together.
Welcome into the Evangelical-ish podcast. It is good to see everyone this evening. I'm Jeremy.
I'm April.
And I'm Paul.
And we are super glad that you are along for the ride this evening. The final one, I believe, of February. It is the last episode in February 2022. And so anyway, excited to have y'all along. We got a really great conversation tonight. Super excited about it. We're going to talk about John Cooper and all his wonderful dialogue. But before we get into that, I definitely want to encourage everyone, if you haven't already, leave a review for the podcast. Give us 5 stars and tell people why they should be listening. We would greatly appreciate it. It just helps get this in front of more people, and so we can connect with more folks and make a bigger conversation, which is always good. Also, if you haven't subscribed and turned on notifications on YouTube yet, please do that. Also, if you're just a podcast listener, we have social media platforms. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok primarily, as well as YouTube, obviously, is when the show is shot live on Wednesday nights. And so we would be really honored if you would come join us on social media as well. All of those places, you can just search us at Evangelicalish and youtube.com/Evangelicalish. So that is Evangelical with an ISH. All right. Housekeeping out of the way, ready to rock and roll. Good evening, Evangelicalish fam. Paul, April, what's up?
I love how everybody is like it's like at one of the party's national conventions where they say from the state of Texas, and so hello from the land of homophobic pizza places, says Rainy Day Studios. So everybody's introducing where they're from with a lot of flourish and
that's
beauty.
Really funny to me.
And here's Michael from Godless Hollywood. So very nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, here in Oklahoma, I thought we were doing all right. I was really excited because it's still a wasteland. Don't get me wrong, but I thought at least in my congressional district we had a chance, right? Because 2 years ago we had a Democrat. Kendra Horn, who had won that seat. She was beat by a Republican 2 years later in 2020. Well, 2022 was shaping up really nice. A former news personality who had turned lawyer, who had then run for senator against our senior senator and had some success. We thought, oh my goodness, she's going to win. And then it comes out that she went over to a friend's house with her friend's 12-year-old daughter and their friends, and decided to drink 2 entire bottles of wine and begin using racial slurs and start, cussing at the kids like MFing 12-year-olds, which is never good. So anyway, it is, today's a darker day here in Oklahoma, as the Democratic candidate we thought had a chance here in our congressional district decided to just be ridiculous. So
crazy. All right. April is adjusting her lighting as her partner told her to do in the comments. So we'll let her do that. And we'll show you John Cooper. Jeremy did a video on TikTok about the Skillet singer recently, who suddenly is an expert on deconstruction and is letting everybody know all about it. So let me get that video up here. Jeremy, take it away.
So John Cooper, who is the lead singer for popular Christian rock band Skillet, went on stage the other night and shared his thoughts about deconstruction.
It is time that we declare war against this deconstruction I don't even like calling it deconstruction Christian because there was nothing Christian about it.
And what breaks my heart is I actually really used to enjoy some of Skillet's music. But over the last several years, John's stances have become increasingly more toxic as he's fallen into Christian nationalism. To be perfectly transparent, I have actually avoided talking about him specifically on this platform because I don't think I could honestly be unbiased. Several months ago, during the whole modest is hottest debate, I stated to Newsweek that we shouldn't be encouraging women to change their clothes. We should be telling men to change their mindsets. I said that I don't want my girls having to change who they are or what they wear because of the animalistic, immature mindsets of men. So John decides to hop on his podcast and stop just short of saying that I hate my daughters.
Oklahoma pastor Jeremy Coleman shared a parody of the song on TikTok on Wednesday, voicing his criticisms. When I read that, I thought, okay, this is moving to that area of, I don't want to say he hates his daughters. That's over a lot.
Yeah. Let me address the comments that he made from the stage the other night. Why would you want to wage war on people that the church has already waged war on in the first place? People who have been hurt, broken, and marginalized by the American Evangelical Church. Plus, does waging war against people who have been marginalized sound like something that Jesus would do? So many left the church to find Jesus. So how dare you say that they don't deserve to be called followers of Christ? And for people who left the faith altogether, can you blame them? Because if heaven is exclusive to people like you, who would want to be there? So John Cooper, who
Not me. Sign me out.
So then John goes on social media and writes a, I don't know, 1,000,000-word thesis on what deconstruction is. And we thought we would just discuss it a little bit because there is we're going to make fun of this a little bit, but there is a seriousness to this of people who are asking us on a regular basis, like, am I okay to seek out a new truth than what I've been told? So I'm just going to set us up with a little summary of John Cooper's thesis on deconstruction. And he compares it to a guy hitting on his wife and running up and hugging her in the restaurant versus the more subtle guy who DMs her as the nice guy. And so this is what John Cooper says. There are people who have deconstructed, deconverted, and disavowed the faith and subsequently began a platform or brand or ministry, he says, where they attack core principles of Christianity, speak out against the Bible, and attempt to lead others into deconstruction. And then he says, deconstructionists are undermining the Bible, calling it immoral, mean, or bigoted. And then basically says, you're either a Christian who believes the Bible is inspired by God, inerrant, and you accept that by faith, or you're emotionally using your opinion to say the Bible can say whatever you want it to be. So Christians are thinking when they look at the Bible and bring some faith to it. Deconstructionists are all looking at the Bible through their emotional lens. And as he said, they consider the words of the Bible no greater or lesser important than any other book, religion, or TikTok influencer.
Hey.
And he goes on to compare deconstruction to his daughter going off to college, being taught to brush her teeth, and then being told by some deconstructionist, oh, that's patriarchal, that your parents taught you to brush your teeth. And then convincing
patriarchal colonialism was what he said.
And convincing her that brushing your teeth is wrong and you should rethink brushing your teeth. You guys read this, April and Jeremy.
Yes.
What do you think about his definition of deconstruction? I actually thought he brought some interesting points forward for us to chew on a little bit. And then his criticism that deconstructionists are very subtly like the DM guy, the guy that comes after his wife in the restaurant. He can use his toxic masculinity to beat that guy up and nobody's going to say anything. But the DM guy is the subtle deconstructionist, the sensitive, gentle, homophobic slur, put it in here, guy who is coming this other way that you can attack. What do you guys think of his characterizations of those of us who are in this deconstruction community and thinking about our faith? April, do you want to start?
Sure. First of all, the fact that he used his wife and like his need to protect her as the example to compare is on brand. We'll just say that.
Yeah, spot on, John.
Yes.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah. And this is like a nitpicky thing, but
Don't go changing.
yeah, he was just like, he opens it up. It's like, if I walk into a restaurant with my wife and a man comes up to her and like aggressively hugs her and like really hits on her in front of her, like, am I going to be jealous? The good kind. He goes, absolutely.
The good
like,
kind.
First of all, I don't think jealous is the right word there.
Right.
Like, unless she's reciprocating, in which case there's some underlying issues there. Anyway, that's not the point of our conversation. Right. I just thought it was a really stupid analogy. And
it wasn't the point of his conversation. That's right. That's the whole deal, right?
The whole idea, like, oh, would I be jealous? I'm like, that's not the right word. You would be angry that a man was doing that to your wife, but jealous. Did you think he had a shot? Like,
if your wife is easily swayed to want the man to hug her just in case she might like it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Tell me you're insecure in your marriage without telling me. Anyway, that's not why we're here. So one thing that he said that, well, a lot of it stuck out to me in this post was, one, he was talking about deconstructionists as if like we're dangerous because there are a lot of really aggressive deconstructionists that are trying to recruit people and almost like convert people to deconstruction, which he was like, they're actively seeking out people to have doubts. And I don't know anyone who's doing that personally. No, that's what evangelicals do.
We left the proselytizing behind, you know?
Yeah, that felt like projection. Like,
we're coming to get the children. We're coming
Seriously.
after your children.
Like, he makes deconstructionists sound like just so like, oh, you better, like, it's like the new boogeyman. Like, they're gonna get you.
Here's
we used to hear that about gay people. They're coming after our children.
Yeah. What is that video that you posted that got taken down like 18 times, April, with that song or whatever, where you're like doing the whole
my
dance and stuff. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you're never gonna stop us, and you're never gonna stop us, or whatever.
I don't like that one.
But you know, something that first off, I just want to say to John Cooper, I've reached out to John Cooper multiple times. He took a swipe at me, and I put in probably the calmer stuff out of that podcast that he did with Alyssa Childers, who used to be in Zoe Girl.
I know, and I love Zoe Girl, and that's gross. Ew.
Well, and that's the thing. Listen, I mean, I loved Skillet. Like I thought they had like a good, like they were one of those last CCM bands that kind of had their own sound or whatever for a long time. And I was like, at least there's some originality, like they, you know, and they had some good thought-provoking stuff, but unfortunately, you know, his newfound theology and hanging out with, you know, James White and you know, that whole group of guys.
James White is the guy that said empathy was a sin.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and you know, I mean, what is it that the Apologia Studios, you know, like all that stuff, like, so he's in circles with them. I noticed a post today. You know, Skillet is on the Candace Owens show, was last night, and he's wearing a shirt. He's wearing a shirt on the Candace Owens show that he revealed after they sang their song that says "Do not comply." And so, you know, I've got a lot of questions about John Cooper but here's the two things I'll say. First off, number one, John, we're not sneaking around, sliding into DMs, bro. We're out here. Like we've been out here, out here enough that you knew who I was and called me out on your podcast. Mm-hmm. So why don't you come over here and have a conversation? Like, because nobody's trying to sneak around. Nobody's trying to be quiet. Nobody's trying to silently solicit people.
We're not trying to hug your wife.
We're not trying to hug your wife. I could care less. I've got a wife. She's a 10. I don't need your wife, John. So here's the thing. You want to come over here and have a conversation? Roll in, bro. Like, door is wide the fuck open. Wide open.
You just said the F word, though. You're like, I don't cuss. I'm a custom.
Well, okay. Well, like I do. So, and here's the thing I would say at the end of the day, I would look at John Cooper square in the face and I would say, I honestly believe there is room in the kingdom of God for you. Do you believe that there is room in the kingdom of God for me?
Right.
Because that's really what it boils down to, right? Like I think God's love for him is the same as it is for me.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I did notice in his letter, though, he talks about that love. And he says, please understand, I'm not the least bit angry at people who don't believe the way I do. I truly love them.
Mm-hmm.
But then you get on stage and say you're declaring war on them. I'm not sure you keep using that word, but I don't think it means what you think it means.
Yeah.
So, for him to say that he loves people and goes on to say, and I'm not angry at anyone who struggles with faith, has questions, or has deconverted from Christianity. Yes, you do. You declared war on them.
He sounds very angry and very pressed, and just his writing style.
And listen, I mean, that's ultimately the thing. And that's something I shared the other day. There is a major difference between peacemakers and war makers. I think at the end of the day, those of us who are walking the deconstruction journey, what we just want to see is unity and safety and love and grace for everyone, no matter where you're at on the journey, no matter what you're walking through. We want safety, love, and grace for you. War makers will say they want love, but then they'll burn everything to the ground, pour gasoline on it to make it burn even more, leave it just torched. And the only people that survive, take no prisoners, the only people that survive are the people who swear their allegiance to exactly the way they believe. So, listen, you can sit here all day, John, and say you love people and whatever. I don't buy it, man. And, if you want to have a conversation about that, I'm not in anybody's DMs. I'm right here. You know where to find me. Come talk.
Well, he also said there were like two different definitions. And he was saying that people that question their beliefs and have doubts and are trying to look at the Bible or like look at the Bible with fresh eyes, but still view it as authoritative, like as authoritative God's word, that's good. But he doesn't consider that deconstruction. Deconstruction in his mind is people who read the Bible with fresh eyes, but don't believe it's authoritatively God's word or the authoritative God's word, whatever. And then that will eventually lead to, some washed out Christianity or deconversion. So he's pretty much equated deconstruction with deconversion, which that does happen. But so there's a lot of people that are still Christians that are deconstructing, and he just, I guess, is ignoring us. We don't exist.
And there's a lot of us. I read my Bible all the time. I love it. I think there's something special about it, but but are we afraid of people questioning whether it is inerrant? It is this thing that was narrated by God. I mean, the problem here in his analogies, he's talking about his daughter going off to college and brushing her teeth. And we've heard this narrative for years and years and years. Our kids are going off to secular schools and they're losing their faith. And you know why? Because they're getting out there, their faith is being questioned and they can't back it up because there's no foundation to back up the really thin, staunch evangelical belief system they've been given. Your daughter's not going to stop brushing her teeth when she gets to college because she's going to be able to say, no, there is scientific evidence that brushing your teeth keeps your teeth healthy. I've seen it. I've experienced it. My teeth are still going to be good. There's no way anybody's going to be able to talk her out of brushing her teeth. But if her faith falls apart in 10 days when she gets to college, that's a problem with the faith, not with the deconstructionist challenging her faith. It may be a problem with you, John, not the people that are DMing her with deconstruction ideas or telling her not to brush her teeth.
He mentioned in the podcast that he had kind of taken aim at, the modest is hottest conversation or whatever. He basically said, and I wish I'd pulled this clip for you, but I mean, he said like smart people don't get Christianity. is what he said.
Yeah.
You know, like you kind of have to not be that smart to get Christianity is basically what he was saying. And I was like, so what you're really boiling it down to is you want people who are going to just like, you know, subscribe to this nationalistic evangelical mindset and ask no questions. Just, you know, lay in the pool of indoctrination and drink the, you know, the Waco flavored Kool-Aid. Like that's what you want. And I'm sorry, but like if your daughter goes off to college and people, you know, communicate with her and she realizes, oh, hold on, time out. Like I've got some questions. Good for her. You should be proud of her versus saying, whoa, you know, now you're trying to be too smart. Like what that doesn't make any sense.
The other point that he had made was that she's going to go off to college and she's going to tell people if other kids tell her, oh no, you don't have to brush your teeth. She'll say, no, I do. And she'll remember her parents told her to brush her teeth because they love her and because they know what's best for her. So he's making the analogy that your parents are telling you this belief system of Christianity, instilling that into you because they love you and because they know what's best for you. But what he fails to realize is that there is generational indoctrination going on.
Yeah, my
and that-
parents.
Yeah,
my parents told me that it was sinful for me to date black girls.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
so let's just call it what it is. Like, thank God that I will not raise my children that way, because I had I had people around me who got into my ear. So let's not equate brushing our teeth with racism or bad theology or hate and bigotry.
Right. Well, the thing is that John Cooper, and maybe not him. I mean, probably him too, but like, I can believe that my parents taught me these things because they love me and because they think that's what's best for me. And I can also acknowledge that they were also brainwashed and indoctrinated with these same beliefs from their parents and their parents' parents. And I can separate the two to know that my parents can still love me and I can still question what they've taught me. And that doesn't mean that I don't love them and that I don't also respect what they were trying to do. The one other thing that he said that really rubbed me the wrong way was he was saying that I guess he put it in quotes. So I guess he's saying that a lot of deconstructionists say this, but that since we're like siding with a lot of culture, and he's probably referring to LGBTQ stuff that we're, loving and affirming, that's not cool. He was saying, they'll be on the quote right side of history, but the wrong side of the Bible. And I so badly want to be like, okay, would you say that to the people that were on the right side of history when they abolished slavery? But were they on the wrong side of the Bible? Because they used the Bible to justify that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like, and the cognitive dissonance that it takes in a lot of these evangelical spaces, especially Christian nationalist brand, to put out America first when America is not even in the Bible. Like, even if you still believe in authoritative God's word and it's inerrant, like America is not in there. You can't come out with an American first belief system and actually follow the teachings of Jesus.
Yeah. And he uses the old line that I hear a lot. He was saying, do you ever see a deconstructionist who's not liked by the world, the world, the evil world out there. And they're always going to go where they're liked with culture. And it comes off this very bad belief system that when Jesus said, the world hated me, they're going to hate you. That as Christians, we're supposed to be hated. If we're doing it right, they're going to hate us. And I always point out to my Christian friends, wasn't it religious people that hated Jesus? Didn't the religious people say, look at Jesus, he's liked by all those sinners out there? I mean, isn't this the exact same critique that Jesus got from the religious guys in his day? Look at you hanging with those sinners.
Exactly.
Look at those
right.
sinners liking you. There must be something wrong with you.
But they never see it, Paul. That's such a great point. They never see it. Like and we get comments like this all the time. And especially you and I as people with pastors in our usernames, like, it's one of those things where it's like, you go to these people and you say, do you even hear how this sounds? Like, you don't understand that this is the exact same criticism that they levied against Jesus, and then at one point he's talking about, like, as we speak, some have accused me of overreacting, but I have to sincerely ask, do you think it's possible that you are underreacting? Like, that he is trying to build this, war machine against this, against deconstruction. And so, no, I think that's a great point.
Let me ask you guys a question. I mean, did you start deconstructing your faith and then go to social media and start to speak out about it because you thought it was going to be fun and you would be loved? And has it just been so easy and wonderful?
So widely accepted by the culture?
Nobody saying anything bad about you? Has it just been peaches and roses all the time for you guys?
No, I'm like blocked by some extended family. People think I'm Satan and the Antichrist, and
it's
like,
such a false premise, isn't it?
yeah, I mean,
Well,
and the hate, I am still hated by a lot of people, and those people are Christians. And I've received much more hate and nasty comments and messages from Christians than I ever did when I was just speaking out about Christianity from, like, when I was in my lane and just, talking just nice little Bible verses and like the real filmy good stuff. Like, I never got any hate from any non-Christian person, that even though I was told my entire life that I would. I mean, a couple Sky Daddy comments every now and then.
Yeah, occasionally, but those are so few and far between.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even consider that hate. That's just like, whatever.
No, I mean, and I will say absolutely not. And, I mean, we lived some of that struggle with me in real time, real life. Of course, we've all lived that, but, just specifically talking about, my transition out of the church that I was serving at and stuff like that. But
yeah, you had to leave your job.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
And I think the reason this is such an important discussion, why our friends come on here and comment, is, and honestly, I'm happy now because I have you guys, I have this community, but people need to know that John Cooper is wrong. That I really believe Romans 12:2 says, don't be conformed to this age, but be transformed by the ongoing renewing of your mind. We are supposed to be questioning all the time. And if our faith is real, if we are truly holding all truth, if it's a solid foundation of our belief system, it will withstand the questions. But when we start to get scared of the questions, and this is what I posed on John Cooper's Facebook page, that must mean we're worried that the foundation is shaky to begin with.
That the answers might just scare you, and here's the thing I'll say, and I think we all grew up with this indoctrination of, well, we don't want to conform to the culture, like they, they use that phraseology all the time with us.
In the world, not of it.
In the world, not of the world. There's a whole clothing line you can buy. And so, what I would say is, it's really important to understand that it's not like the culture versus the anti-culture. It's just two separate cultures. And so, when they're like, you're doing things that the culture it loves, or you're getting approval from the culture. No, I'm just not getting approval from your culture. And that's the problem. It's not that you are not a part of the culture. You're just another culture of your own. And now you don't approve me. So you're trying to say you're one of them. You're over there. And so, I for a long time, it was like we were taught that, like, it was the culture or the world. The Christian, you're the sins of the flesh, or whatever. And it's like, no. You've just drawn a line in the sand. You built a wall and you said, we are over here. We're not the culture, but in and of that self, you are a culture.
Well, and it just goes along with, I feel like, my entire life in evangelical spaces, and especially now, they have to have something or someone that they are fighting. There's always has to be an enemy, someone out to get them. I mean, I mentioned this earlier, but growing up, they would read us like the Fox's Book of Martyrs in youth group, and about all of these Christians that were killed for the faith, as if that was going to happen to us here in America at any point. And then, when you had, Would You Say Yes with the shooting in Columbine, which, ended up being like a huge propaganda thing. But I remember them like speaking to kids being like, if a shooter comes into your school and asks you, do you believe in God, and has a gun to your head, will you say yes and go to heaven, or would you deny God? Like training kids to like die. Like, and I remember being,
it was
like,
a Michael W. Smith song.
Yes, I believe in God. Rebecca St. James did one too. There was it was a whole cultural movement, and at the root of it, it is preparing kids to die for God. And so I just always thought there was just some war, and also being taught, and these are direct quotes of what was taught to me as a kid in church. 1, to not be open-minded. Open-minded is of the devil. 2, critical thinking, well, it could lead you to atheism. Don't ask too many questions, because one question leads to the other, and one day you wake up and you're an atheist and you go to hell. And there's always been this battle against critical thinking. And it makes so much sense now, but in the moment it's like, well, duh, like, yeah, like, of course they're telling people not to think critically, because as soon as you do, it falls apart. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And so we see it winding its way through conservatism in politics. I saw somebody in the comments talking about how President Trump said, I love the uneducated. I love those uneducated people out there. And that education is a fault. Education is something to be scared of. Learning is, don't be deceived by those evil university people who are out there thinking and learning and studying. And they might even teach you evolution or
God's not dead.
Creationism. God's not dead.
Oh my gosh. That is a persecution kink movie. The whole thing. The way
Persecution kink. I love it.
That was like tickling the
That's a jab I'm not willing to take.
Persecution porn. There we go.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, really though. Yeah. But my favorite thing is it's the white American evangelical church who has the greatest persecution complex. They want to be persecuted so bad. And so, for a long time it was like, it's coming, it's happening. I remember post 9/11, like the anger and racism towards, just anybody of Middle Eastern descent, anybody, like, and, it was a holy war. It was a holy war, is basically how that played out. And it's just scary.
It goes back to the Catholic Church not allowing the Bible to be translated in English. We can't have people reading the Bible for themselves. And it leads to all we see Greg Locke, calling out witches in his church, keep the people not thinking. They have to listen to the man in the pulpit who tells them what to think. And that if anybody stands against me, that woman's a witch. She's a witch.
Yeah, well, and I have dialogued with a lot of people that my fear is that he's trying to get out in front of the curve of greater problems. But by the way, we were going to do this at the end, but we decided to do something different, which will also be fun. But April, I just want to know which kind of witch you are and which kind of witch I am. And Paul, what kind of witch you are? Are
which
you Cracker Barrel or a Waffle House? Which witch are you? Yeah.
Out of his witches?
Out of yes, only Greg's witches here.
Waffle House witches. Yeah. Cracker Barrel witches, man and woman witches.
That was pretty good.
Church going witches, preaching witches.
Because
like it's all whispery, like he Was he like realizing that he is a witch?
Yeah, maybe in that, like in real time, he was like,
Yeah.
oh shit.
Between the two, I would probably be, well, in all of them, I'd probably be a Cracker Barrel witch. I like those rocking chairs.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
What witch would you be? The man witch?
The man witch. April's on fire. I don't know what type of witch. I don't know what the difference is between a Cracker Barrel witch and a preaching witch.
I don't know.
I believe when people say,
I don't think Greg Locke knows.
Yeah, exactly. I think when people say, I'll pray for you, they are practicing sorcery. They are trying to get the supernatural to manipulate you. And so those are witches in some version, I would say. I'll pray for you, people.
Well, so much of the name it and claim it, like a lot of the beliefs that Bethel has and like Pentecostals speaking things into fruition, like that's witchcraft.
Yeah.
That's just manifesting.
I like Cracker Barrel. Listen, at Waffle House is a little weird for me. Like I've just been in there and it's just not a great place. So, yeah, I'm going to be a Cracker Barrel witch, and I guess probably a preaching witch just naturally, considering I preach on Sundays and I am one of those demon deconstructionists.
Beecher says, do you think Greg Locke actually planned out the witch categories, or was he just randomly naming places off the top of his head?
The places he had gone to breakfast that
he was kind of hungry, yeah.
He was thinking about pancakes.
Let's see. We got the damn Waffle House witches and Cracker Barrel. Cracker Barrel sounds good.
Cracker Barrel witches. What does that even mean?
And the upshot on this for me is just I just want to keep telling people. And the reason I went to social media to begin with was to say to people, John Cooper may be mad at you for thinking and challenging your faith and rethinking it, but God is not mad at you for doing that.
No.
And I get asked that a lot from people like, I don't really believe in hell anymore. Does that mean I'm going to end up there? And I just want to say, I think if you can't challenge your faith, then your faith isn't worth challenging. It's not worth having. Mm-hmm. A faith that's true, something that's true, is going to stand up to scrutiny and grow. And I also think our faith is supposed to evolve and grow and move and change. And that's, well, God's the same yesterday, today, and forever. Well, God was okay with David having a virgin in his deathbed. So I think God has changed a little bit through the years. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. But, I wore earrings in a live the other night and Christians lost their shit.
They don't like men and feminine things.
Yeah, but I guarantee you David wore earrings as a king in
definitely wore a dress.
And wore a dress. Yes, he did.
I'm curious, like, one of the things that he says in there is that there's two places where people start deconstruction, right? It's one, you either read it believing in the inerrancy of the Bible, or you don't. And that the second one will lead you to deconvert, and the first one will keep you strong in the faith. But John Cooper, if you are listening, I started deconstruction reading the Bible, believing that it was inerrant and that it was the authoritative word of God, and that I should take it literally for the most part, because that's what evangelicals told me. And then just reading it for myself, still believing that I just believe that my deconstruction was spirit-led, because I was finally not listening to what the evangelical pastor was telling me to believe and how to interpret scripture. And I just took it to interpret it for myself and how I was reading it off the page. So.
Yeah, no, I would say I can safely speak for all of us to say that it has caused a lot of heartache. It's caused broken relationships. It's caused sleepless nights and, a lot of therapy sessions.
And it's been lonely. It's been a very isolating experience. And like, we're talking about it now, but what John Cooper doesn't see is, for me, a decade of soul searching and really wrestling with my faith every single day to get to this point where I can actually vocalize and verbalize some of the things that I've learned and unlearned.
Well, and that's what I would tell him. If I ever did actually have that conversation, kind of all, kidding aside, that's what I would tell him, is that I would say, look, man, like you have said for so long, kind of going back to that thing we were talking about, the Columbine, like, are you willing to die for your faith? Are you willing to sacrifice for your faith or whatever? I can't tell you how many times I've had friends go, when is enough going to be enough, man? Like you've given up a lot for this or whatever. And, we've had those conversations inside, the inner circle between the three of us. And we've all kind of said, like, it costs what it costs, because we believe so passionately in what we see in our faith journey and what's happening in the community that's moving in that direction. And, so that's the thing. I'd be like, look, man, you think this is so pretty and so wonderful, it's so sexy, like Matt Chandler said, or, whatever. It's a shit show. Yeah, like it's hard.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing on it, and I think I saw this on your page a little bit too, Jeremy, is my TikTok I did on the Greg Locke thing. And I apologize to witches for what Christians have said for them for so long. And so witches come on the video and they're, talking about Greg Locke and having some fun with him and saying, yeah, show up at my door, buddy, and we'll see what happens, which I thought was funny. But then they would say, it means a lot to me that a pastor would tell me I'm okay at being a witch. And I got a couple of DMs, a couple of private messages from people saying, thank you for saying I'm okay. And they would explain their story of why they're a witch and what it means to them. And John Cooper thinks I'm supposed to despise that and be embarrassed that witches like me. I get these comments from people all the time. Well, if an atheist likes you, you must not be following the Lord. And it's bullshit. It's just for just a moment, a witch is saying, wow, a Christian pastor told me I'm okay. And that means something. And I love that. And I wouldn't give that up to follow John Cooper's shitty religion for $1 million.
Right. And John Cooper is not being hated because he's speaking the truth or because of Jesus in him. People hate him because he's a dick.
That was smooth.
It was smooth. And I feel it very passionately. So
yeah. Well, and that's me too. I think I came out guns blazing on John Cooper early on. It's because, and I even said, like, he has been saying outlandish thing after outlandish thing after outlandish thing, like, and because this is not his first onstage rant about deconstruction. He has done this several times. And so, we're living rent free in John's head, apparently, by the way, friends. And so, but, I have for a long time let this go just because I personally was like, man, this guy, it sucked when it was like somebody that I used to really enjoy. And then they took a swipe at me uncalled for, like, didn't give me a chance to speak for myself, just took shots at me. And so I was like, this guy's a jackass. I kind of have also had like a very difficult time. And for a long time, I didn't say anything about any of his clips just because I wanted to be, I try to be middle of the road with the things that I analyze. But, he just finally just like said one too many stupid things. And so,
just to insinuate that you're standing up for women being able to wear what you wear means that you hate your daughters is like so stupid. Like,
isn't that insane?
It is such a dumb argument to make that ugh.
Yeah, Christians, you're not being persecuted. You're just assholes.
Also,
and people react this way to assholes.
Can I just, speaking of the persecution, the cognitive dissonance that I had going to public high school, believing that I was going to be persecuted, I had a sign on my locker that said, Jesus saves souls, that I made myself and put it on there. No one said anything to me. I prayed publicly with my little group in the lunchroom. No one said anything to me. I was part of Youth Alive, which was a Christian club. I was part of FCA, which was a Christian club. We had frickin' see you at the poll
Yes.
every year, and they still do it. Who the crap's talking about they're taking prayer out of schools? Like literally you can do that at any point that you want to. But if a group of Muslims were to do see you at the poll and pray themselves over it, Christians would lose their ever-loving mind.
Oh,
or try to have your football team run through a verse from the Quran, onto the field.
Like they have this.
Could you imagine?
Could you imagine?
This country is full of Christian supremacy, white supremacy, but white Christian supremacy, and it's all tied up together. And it's stupid that these people have the audacity to think that they're being freaking persecuted.
Yeah, but
dumb.
Joseph, you and I were talking about this on a podcast. This exact thing we were talking about. But the damn Starbucks cups are only red. And it's like it says Happy Holidays, not Merry Christmas. And so it's just the caucasity.
If Christians in America are oppressed, they are the wealthiest, most political, powerful, oppressed group in the history of mankind. It's truly incredible. And April got called out by one of her friends. We're going to talk about that after we hit the mid-roll here. So hang out with us.
Friend is a strong word.
The three-quarter roll. Tonight it's the three-quarter roll. Evangelical-ish. Follow us to catch all the latest content and encouragement. You can check us out on TikTok by following @Evangelical-ish or subscribe on YouTube by searching Evangelical-ish. That's Evangelical with an ISH. And don't forget to catch our live streams each and every single Wednesday night on YouTube at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, and 6 Pacific. And now, back to the Evangelical-ish podcast.
Okay, so...
Oh, by the way, I saw this one on the pastor in Arkansas who was saying he was persecuted because they were putting gay stores into downtown Eureka Springs, which has like an 86-foot statue of Jesus overlooking the city.
They do that. Their entire economy is run by a gospel presentation of the life of Jesus called The Great Passion Play of the Ozarks.
Right.
They literally crucified Jesus, I think like 9 times a week out there. Six day show or 6 evening shows and 3 matinees, baby. But they are greatly persecuted because somebody put a BLM sign up on their door and started selling pride shirts. So.
And by the way, if you want to see, that's a Jordan Klepper on YouTube. Jordan Klepper is the bomb.
He's hilarious.
He is funny.
Okay.
So April, you got called out.
I did. Okay. So you guys know, I'm sure we've all experienced this to some degree once we've left the evangelical church and people started finding out about it. You run into someone from your old church or someone from your old church messages you and they're like, what happened to you? Like, remember when we would do this in church? Remember the good times in church? Remember when you would praise the Lord? Remember when you would lead worship? Like, what's wrong? Like, what's up? And it's like condescending, like, I'll pray for your soul, these types of things. We've probably all experienced that to some degree, family member, whatever. Well, that happened to me this week on TikTok by an infamous insurrectionist that I have mentioned that I think I've mentioned on the show that I knew Jenna Ryan, because Jenna Ryan, who is the real estate person who took the private jet, flew the private jet to DC on January 6th, stormed the Capitol, took pictures of herself in front of the Capitol with broken glass, was like live, whatever, live tweeting it. She was like Instagram live, all the things.
So oppressed, they can only fly a private jet to an insurrection.
Well,
and Instagram live it while they are breaking into a federal building.
She was easy to find, so she got prosecuted and charged and convicted. But she did say,
you mean persecuted, not prosecuted.
Oh yeah, she's calling herself a political prisoner now. But she tweeted before the sentence or before the conviction came, she had tweeted that there was no way she was going to go to jail because she's white with blonde hair. So real quality. Anywho, I was just minding my own business a few days ago, and I had some notifications on my TikTok, and I had 5 comments from Jenna Ryan on my video that I had made back in November or whenever it was, saying like, oh, hey, I know someone from the insurrection. And I was making a point that I knew this lady from church. And then my partner, Beecher, also knew someone from the insurrection from church, a different one. He knew Zip Tie Guy. Like the fact that we both knew an insurrectionist that made
you guys are tight
news,
with insurrectionists. I like it.
We both knew him from church. So that was my point. My point was, if you live in a red state and go to church, your chances of knowing an insurrectionist go up, or being one, I guess, also go up.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I come up to these comments. She sees the video that I made of her, was just saying like, I know this person. She's kind of a little bit crazy. I did call her an insurrectionist because she's an insurrectionist.
Yeah.
She goes, wow, girl, your dad got me saved back in the 90s. You sure have changed. Looks like you need to go back to Jesus because you're on Satan's team now. I watched you sing Happy Birthday, Jesus, when you were a little girl. Your brother turned gay. Wow, I didn't know that. Tell your mom I said hello. Just throwing that in there. And then she goes,
your brother turned gay. Tell your mom hello.
She just grabs like some random shit flying through the air on that last part.
Here's another one. I'm sorry that you have partnered up with the spirit of the Antichrist. I'll be praying for you, April. And then this comment she left on the Greg Locke witch video that I had made. And she said, you need to look at your heritage, honey. I've been to many sermons preached by your grandfather and your dad. This is your heritage. Like, gross. Neither my dad nor my grandfather, I'm sure they had some problems, but they never were calling out witches from the pulpit.
They were probably Waffle House witches. You never know.
Yes. So anyway, so I took a screenshot of it, made a TikTok. It was like, I guess Jenna Ryan's out of prison. I told y'all I knew her from church.
Your brother turned gay.
Yeah,
no,
so anyway.
No, he just.
So I got a TikTok. What's the word?
Andrew.
Clap back
from an insurrectionist on TikTok who had the audacity to be concerned for my salvation of how far I've strayed. She just got out of prison. So that was done.
So her first order of business was like, all right, got to change out of this jumpsuit now. April, I got some words.
I'm sure she was really just like searching her name on TikTok and found me and was like, oh my gosh, I know this girl. April. I remember when she sang Happy Birthday, Jesus. What is she doing? Girl.
You know, gaslighting is one of those terms that gets overused, like so many things. But I watched the video she did about you, and gaslighting, thy name is Jenna. I mean, it's so ridiculous to say your father wouldn't be happy with you for this, or, whatever her language was on. I mean, that is the ultimate gaslighting, to try to hit that emotional string and say, your dad and I hope that you get back to Jesus, which was sort of essentially what she said.
Yes, it's super insensitive and disgusting. One, to use my late father and my late grandfather, who were both pastors, against me, as if she's not the only one who has done that. There have been other people from my church that I grew up in that would reach out and say that my dad or my grandfather would be disappointed in me. Most of that was because I didn't vote for Trump.
I mean, I'm sorry, that's really sick shit. That is, you are not Christ-like. You are not a Christian if you do stuff like that, because that is nothing of the love of Christ are in comments like that.
That is the highest form of emotional manipulation, or rather the lowest form, I probably should say. But that is absolutely disgusting.
Well,
I'm sorry, by the way.
It's okay.
Yeah, that makes me angry. I want to be John Cooper and go punch the guy in the restaurant for you.
We declare war.
Yeah, well,
She has a punchable face, like you like to say, Jeremy.
I definitely may have said that offline.
no, we can't. I know.
Just
I don't
listening
like
to
when
her
we,
voice.
I don't
it was
like when we say we punch people.
I
It makes
know
me
we're not into that
uncomfortable.
toxic masculinity stuff.
No,
so.
we punch people with words and intelligence.
With love.
Maybe a little bit of petty.
I don't know, man. Just kidding.
Yeah. So anyway, so that happened to me
I
this
agree.
week, and it was weird. I was talking to my friend Abby, and she was like, "April, this is a hilarious situation because this happens to everybody, but it's happening with you in public on TikTok with a infamous insurrectionist."
Yeah, there it is.
So
Oh,
fun
my
times.
gosh. Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah,
So-
I love it.
Another thing that we were going to do before we skedaddle is John Cooper has declared war against deconstruction, right?
Yes.
And so we thought it would be fun to talk about what we would bring to the war. What non-violent weapon would you bring to John Cooper's war to show up to the front lines? You thought about it? I'll go first. I'll tell you what I would bring. I would probably bring a few things. But one thing that I would bring, these people I feel like have a little bit of Pentecostalism in them. So I'm going to bring a flag to like fly around and like kind of interpretive dance like I'm up front during worship, you know? Yes, and it's exactly right, Paul. It's going to be a pride flag. Because nothing distracts evangelicals like a good culture war.
Yeah.
And they're going to see that pride flag and they're not even going to be able to focus on whatever. I don't even fully know what war they're doing, but I'm going to distract the crap out of them with that pride flag. That, and I'm probably going to wear a tank top, shoulders, like John Cooper. I think he's going to be quite blinded by my
Their eyes are
shoulders.
going to be distracted. Yes.
Yeah, no eyes can go anywhere else. Shoulders. All the women exposed shoulders. The men will be completely out of like they won't even be able to fight.
Yeah.
You'll just be glued to the shoulders.
And we'll send you ahead because he can't be alone in a room with you. So
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
And then they would have to retreat just based
They'd
on
have to retreat.
you know their morality.
Oh no, she's coming! Run! Just have to Joseph and sprint away from Potiphar's wife. I'm gonna be Potiphar's wife, bitch. That just came out. I don't even know what I'm talking about at this point. This is a weird war. Paul, what would you bring?
I'm an 80s kid. And so if you remember the movie Say Anything with John Cusack, if you're older than me, and he's holding the boombox up at the end of the movie, playing In Your Eyes, Peter Gabriel, trying to get the girl standing out in the rain. And of course, if I said Paul would bring his earrings, that's right. I would bring my earrings.
Oh, that will definitely distract them.
That'll scare them. And I'll hold my boombox up and play Lil Nas X Montero really loud on the boombox. That'll send them running.
While the woman with scantily clad shoulders are dancing ahead.
That'll scare them. They can't be in the presence of something demonic like that.
Oh, they're gonna retreat so fast.
Yeah,
because they don't. Our little deconstruction's gonna snatch them away, snatch the children. Jeremy, what are you bringing to the war?
So I just figured I would give a uniform to everybody, like just so we can tell each other apart. I think that's really important. It is war. Like you'd like to know who's on your team. So I think I'm just going to provide everybody with a t-shirt that says Brandon is your president. And then that's it.
What, on their side too? You're going to provide their uniforms or just our?
No. Just our side. I'm not going to give t-shirts away to the crazy people. I don't do that. So no, we'll just wear t-shirts that say Brandon's your president. And that's it.
Good branding.
Yeah. Good marketing.
I like it.
I think that would be fun. I don't have anything really to fight with. I mean, other than passing out like Twilight novels, probably. I guess we could decide if we're like Team Edward or Team Jacob, to kind of like break our battalions down. Like that's.
We need to bring the Sorting Hat from Harry Potter. And just like
I don't know what that is.
Put people on.
April, here's a suggestion for what you can bring from Christina.
Yes. Oh, I would definitely. Yes, I'll bring my
Oh.
vibrator. I'll like go out and buy like some real big bright ones and just hold them up, wave
Okay.
them.
So when I was working at so for a season, I worked at Amazon here several years ago, and well, like right at the beginning of the pandemic. So I'd been working at a nonprofit here in Oklahoma City. They closed due to some financial issues, and so I was looking for another job, full-time job. I was still doing ministry part-time at the time. And so anyway, Amazon was like hiring like gangbusters here in Oklahoma City. So it's like, okay, cool. You know, like I'll just go work there. Like they pay decent and, you know, I can, you know, figure it out while I'm sending resumes out. So they were just hiring people on the spot. So, you know, I got 4 kids to feed, so might as well. So I went there, and right as the pandemic hit, we started sending out like insane amounts of adult toys. But my favorite one was for men, and it was an entire mask, and it had a member hanging off of the front of it. And so it was like, I don't know if like you were supposed to operate it like a chicken, or like I don't really know how that worked, but I've seen some crazy things. So I guess we could all.
I saw someone wear one of those at a protest. Not in person. I saw pictures of a protest. It was counter protesters. They were like protesting to move Confederate statue, and there were counter protesters to keep the statue. And those people had like Trump shirts, and someone had one of those gross
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't even know what that would be.
It was insane. And it wasn't even so the best thing is like, you know, people are buying like high quality stuff when it comes like in a box that's like completely covered. And the only reason you would even know is because like when you scan the item, it shows a picture of it and you're like, oh wow, you know, like that's cool.
Okay. There are some really great comments going on right now. So, Philip says that we could bring a bunch of D20 so we can roll for initiative. That's a Dungeons and Dragons joke, guys.
All right.
Stephanie says, would they even know what a vibrator is? And that is a fair point. I don't know that they would. So I could either have a giant sign that says this is a vibrator, or I use a vibrator, or Andy says we could have tasers disguised as vibrators.
Nice.
So they wouldn't know what those were.
We could bring Mark of the Beast vaccines. If they get too close, we vax them. I mean,
someone earlier, I don't know where the comment went.
We'll vax you if you get too close, and you'll have the mark of the beast, and
that's amazing.
You won't get to go to heaven then.
Someone earlier said they're just going to cover themselves in Bibles because they won't be able to hurt him without hurting a Bible.
Well, you know, it's like camouflage. You know, they've never really seen one, so
yeah. I kind of want to like blow up a giant book that I could like wear. You know, did y'all ever watch Salty?
Salty, yeah, the Bible.
Salty, the singing Bible.
Yeah.
So kind of like that, but instead of
Salty.
the Bible, instead of the Bible, it's going to be Love Wins by Rob Bell. Because that would really trigger them as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. There's just so many things that scare Christians. It would be so like the Procter and Gamble logo. You know, just
Monster energy drinks.
Oh yeah,
Monster energy drinks for sure.
I mean, honestly, just men could wear kilts.
Oh yeah, that would go over.
They would lose their minds.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, you know what? Hey, so that last comment about the balloons, we could also bring like erotic cakes. Because then, like, you know, we're gonna get hungry. Like, who doesn't love a good cake? So
if we all jump out of cakes
or gay wedding cakes
with our pride flags,
yeah, and naked shoulders, yeah, and men in kilts,
Smurfs,
yeah, man buns required.
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
All right, it's just so easy to take down that Christian army. We got them because the devil is so crafty. He'll get you.
I did know. So since John Cooper did mention that deconstructionists we're like, you know, we're trying to convert people to come to whatever this is. So are we going to start making tracks? We're going to have chick tracks. I think Marsha earlier was mentioning chick tracks to start handing out to people. Like, have you heard of my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ? Oh, well, that part that you've heard is wrong. Let me tell you the truth about Jesus. Have you heard of the real Jesus Christ? Do you follow white Jesus or real Jesus?
Let me tell you about the real fun of deconstructing.
Mm-hmm.
Come on over.
Do you want to go from fundamentalism to fun?
We put the fun in fundamentalism. Or we took the fun from fundamentalism.
Oh, yeah. I actually do this. Beatrice says, have you heard about King James? I actually do this to people. I'm like, did you know King James is gay?
Yeah.
It's like one of my
favorites.
Favorite little trivia things, and just watch them squirm like, no, he wasn't.
And along those same, I like to say, do you know Joseph wasn't wearing a coat of many colors? He was wearing a princess robe, not a prince's robe, the robe a princess wears. And that's why his brothers hated him.
I like that. I like it when you tell that story because it makes them, the men especially, get very, very angry.
Really uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Good stuff tonight. Always fun.
Yes, absolutely. Fun. Well, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us this evening. As always, if you could like, comment, and share to somebody who may want to hang out and listen. And then if you could, on the podcast end, we're on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Amazon Podcasts, any of the major platforms where you get.
Do we need to pull off Spotify though? Like all the cool kids are leaving Spotify.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, we need to leave Spotify.
Renee Brown and Evangelicalish left Spotify.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, so you can download us on Spotify as well.
You can review us there now, or you can give us 5 stars, like 1
That's
to 5
exactly
stars.
right. Reviews are available on Spotify as well as Apple Podcasts. So if you would leave a review, let people know why they should listen to Evangelicalish. And that's it for this week. So until next week, we appreciate you hanging out. I'm Jeremy for April and Paul. Love God, love people passionately, no strings attached. We'll see you later.